Okay, so one thing that I left um, unseen is this bottom part of the back rear sights. And what I did is basically selected the shells, like these shells, and scaled them down and repacked everything. So you could do the same, and it takes not much time. So hold on a second. All right, and this is how it looks like now. All right, and now what I want to do is I'll go on each mesh, and I'll return the missing UV shells that we have. So I'll do example on this frame, and the rest is going to be repeated all the same way, so I'm going to speed up that process. So for the best way to do that, you go into UV editor. Once again, I'll just store it on my second monitor and go into shell mode and select those shells. No, first of all, you should duplicate this guy. So Control D. Now select the duplicate one and isolate it. And now go into shell mode and select all the UV shells that need to be flipped. Okay, so let's do that. All of these guys are going to be flipped. This one as well. All of these bad boys. This one as well. And this one. This one. And right, the interior, this guy, those. I might forget something from first try. That's a common thing to happen. That's why I try to delete only from one side, so that it could be easier to spot them later. So I think that's it. So now you just hold Shift and inverse your selection and delete everything that is now selected. Okay. And now just flip this guy. -1 on the X. And here you go. Now let's select both of these guys and let's check if we have holes or something. Are we clear? Well, it seems to be... Yeah, I think I've done it first try. Yeah, that's good. So now the tricky part is, well, that's not the tricky part. So now select the flipped one, go into UV editor, select all the shells and move them to the left UV space by 1. Go into transform, move, it is 1 by default, and just hit this light left arrow key. So all of your shells are moved here. Why I do this? Well, because when we'll have this mesh all together and we have these guys on our main UV space 0 to 1, and this UV space is not intact. And basically when you bake something, like the baker will consider only this part for like baking information, though your details will be still displayed on these guys because the texture is tiling. So when it comes to displaying your texture, it will be tiling on each of those UV spaces. However, when you bake, the information will be baked only onto this one. So in this case, you just avoid overlapping information on both of these shells. So if you had all of these guys back here, they will interact with each other and overlap, and the baker would not know which one to use, and like it can be messed up and a lot of artifacts can appear. So the safest and the best way to do this is just moving them to the left. Okay, so now the other thing, as you can see, first of all, those parts are different objects. What I want to do now is just remember the name of this guy. It's H01 low. Select it first, then select the flipped guy after my Myosine is out of saving. Now combine those. Alt-Shift-D to delete the history and move it back to your folder. Move it all the way up. Okay, so now it's one mesh. As you can see, the flipped guys turned red. It is an indication of that they are flipped. And now one thing left, that as you can see, the seam, it's because it hard edged and those parts are still separate parts. We need to select all the vertices and merge them together like this, so that all the overlapping vertices will be merged. And now what we need to do is something strange appeared here. As you can see, we don't have hard edges right there, but they appeared there. Okay, I guess I can just fix that. Yeah. So now the last part that should be done is hard and soft edges. So obviously right there should be a soft edge. That's another reason why I am not baking and then flipping parts, because when you bake, this edge is going to be stored as a hard edge, and when you bake and then flip those guys, there will be a necessity for this hard edge. But if you flip it, move back on the mesh and just move it out of your UV space, you can still go with soft edge and it will be working nice and smooth. So as you can see, the shading is good over here. You can see that there are hard edges over there, though they are not should be hard. So just do those soft edges and just examine the whole model for those kind of things with soft edges, because it's really important. Same thing here, soft edges there, soft edges right there as well. Boom. Okay, so same thing goes here. For better understanding, it's better to close the UV editor so that we could see actually the hard edges like this. Just compare two sides. Right there should be soft edge, and something's really weird happened right there. I don't know why there's so much hard edges. This is weird. Select all of those guys. Soft edge. Okay. soft edges here as well. And here. Try to pay as much as possible of attention. Right, something happened in here. This is quite weird, but nothing too crazy. Okay. So I probably missed something, but that will go away after my next cleanup iteration, while I'm going to do bake. So something is wrong here. No, it looks the same. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it is done. So now this mesh, pay attention to your hierarchy, so that when you complete it with all your flipped manipulations and you combine those together, make sure that this mesh still have its name according to the high poly, so that it will work with the baking. And when you're done, you can see that your model is nice and smooth. All the hard and soft edges are done. And go back to your UV editor and just make sure that all the red guys are off your main 0 to 1 UV space. So as you can see, none of those are here, and that is a completed mesh. So this guy is now ready for baking, 100% ready. So now I'm going to speed up and do pretty much the same process for all the rest of the meshes, and we'll be back when I'm done. Okay, so let's go on. Okay, so this is how the final model looks like, and if we go into UV editor, you can see that all the red guys are on the left and all the blue guys on the right, and everything that is unique and not flipped should be in like 0, 1 UV space, and all the flip guys should be on the left. And just a couple comments here. While I was flipping this shell, like this long one, it appeared that topology was not the same on those two guys, because I had like two edges over here, and now they are here as well. So what I did, I deleted that flipped one, and then just added some edges like this one that will be perfectly aligned with this one on this side, and same for this guy. Those are the same. So, and they are on the same coordinates along the y-axis and z-axis. So when I created those two extra edges, when you flip this guy here, it looks, it matches those vertices over here. So that was like a small thing that needed a tweak. And another thing on the magazine, turned out that when I flipped this part over here, this shell over here, it turned out that it was not 100% matching this line of edges over here. Those vertices on this UV shell, they were a bit off. They were like moved slightly, so they were not matching 100%, and I'm like 80% sure that this is going to be looking bad after the bake, because the model should be 100% symmetrical, though basically it's not. So how I fixed this, I just moved guys on the border of this UV shell. I snapped them to the flipped mesh. Not the flipped mesh snapped to those guys, but these guys to the flipped mesh, to the flipped UV shell, because it should be like the same with this one. So again, I'm pretty sure that it's going to look bad on the bake, but I'll try to bake it and see how it's going to look like. But pretty sure I'll need to edit that part. Anyways, so aside from that, the gun is ready to test bakes, and next step is going to be baking. So let's go into baking part. Okay, so for the baking, we need to select the high poly mesh. Here it is. Make sure that the naming is correct, and at least we have same amount of meshes as in low poly. So select the high poly folder, and let's export it in. For this kind of situation, I tend to create a new folder with cleanexp, which is called cleanexp, because the exp is just for like random stuff and not the most necessary stuff, and the cleanexp is for clean meshes. So make sure it's FBX and call it low. Oh no, high, right. Okay, give it some time to load it. Has a couple million of polygons. It takes some time. Then I'm going to export the low poly mesh, but the trick is that I'm going to bake the triangulated low poly mesh. But for now, as I'm going to do the test bakes, right now I'm going to use the polygon mesh, not triangulated, because if there's gonna be an error or a mistake or something, and it will be there, it will be much easier to clean it or to fix it without triangulation. When we're done and everything is going to be nice and clean and it's going to look great, so then I'm going to switch to triangulated version, and I'll go with it already. So I'll give you some explanation a bit later why I use triangulated version, but for now let's export the low poly mesh. We have high, now let's go to low, right? Okay, so for baking I use Marmoset. 3.5 is okay. So let's change the skybox here to garage, and so let's create a baker. Click here, and I use Quick Loader. This is really cool and easy tool. So you just click load and select your high and low poly mesh. Click open, and it will automatically link each high poly mesh to a low poly mesh based on the name of that mesh. So it's going to be in separate like folders. Right, here we go. So as you can see, here are different, like 20 folders, right? If you open each one, you will see the high poly and low poly, and they're in one folder. Those folders are useful because they don't interact with each other when you bake. Even if you have some intersections between meshes, when they are in different folders, it's not going to be taken into account. So it's really cool and easy stuff. So also it is quite useful to hide all the high polys, so just click this thing. Now we have only low poly, and let's do some quick bake test. So what we need to do actually is just specify where I want to bake it. For this thing I usually create a folder called bakes right here, and just call this XD. Okay, and what I also like to do is to save the scene in the same folder, which I usually call baker, like this. Okay, so I've specified where I want to save my output file. The resolution, let's keep it to 2K for now. Like here, I select only normals for now. I will be baking normals and ambient occlusion in Marmoset only. The rest is going to be done in Substance Painter. So let's do the normals because ambient occlusion takes like a lot of time. So for now, let's do normals and click bake. It will take some time. Right, and since I have you can see here different materials with colors, I will also bake a diffuse map. Okay, so we're baked, and click here to preview your normal map. Here we go. Somehow this guy is a bit glossier than all the rest. That's weird. Do we have a different material on it? Yep. Okay, that's not the best thing to do. So make sure you have your single material, which is low mat. Yep. Now let's re-export the gun. Go into low, the Marmoset will automatically reload your mesh since you are replaced the FBX file. This is also a pretty handy feature. So it's really easy to check your progress here, and then it will be automatically updated here. So okay, let's do it again. Bake and preview. Come on. Okay, now preview. Great. Delete that material, delete that one. Now we have this material. Let's crank up the glossiness just a bit. Okay, so from the first sight it looks nice. Let's check out this area right here. So this is not the proper way of checking your baking, right? Because you can't check all the things like here. So for like the proper baking check, I crank up the glossiness, and let's go with lighter color and specular as well. Now this looks proper. Okay. So this is not the final stage of my baking. This is just the checking part. Okay, so the best way to check your bake is just to deselect all the folders right here and go one by one, mesh by mesh, and check it from all the angles if they're looking good. So for check on any kind of errors, and so this guy looks clean. You can see the edgy, like the edge right there. It's not really important because it's covered with the trigger, so it's good. Let's go next. I have some multiple guys here. So far it looks good. Okay. Alright, let's go to the next one. You can center your camera to the specified object, so just click on the object or in the folder and Control F. Your camera will be rotating around that object. Okay, so this is pretty not bad. You can see slide edge over there. That's okay. That's because we have a hard edge right there. That's what I was talking about. When you have a hard edge on your mesh, you will be having that slide edge right there, but it's really not seen from this distance, so that's good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty much suitable. Okay. Have no idea where this pin is, but it looks good. Alright, it's not a pin, it's the front sight part. Don't worry about this part, the holes and the baked in parts for now. Just check for the general errors or something like that. You can actually increase the cage. No, no, this is okay. Still good. That's what I was talking about when you want to place your shells perfectly straight on your map, because you can get this kind of like ladder effect. See that? Because this edge on the UV shell is not perfectly aligned, like in one pixel line, so you get those things. But again, this is 2K, we're going to 4K, and this is like really nitpicking part when you're not going to see this part this close and that's zoomed in, so still okay, but it's good to analyze how it looks. Okay, same story here, you can see that It's actually too much. That's weird looking. Okay, I'll check that. So that's actually because of really high glossiness. Looks a bit better when it's not that glossy. Okay, so let's go further. This looks okay. This part over here, I was wondering how this thing is going to happen, and it looks pretty good. I'm really satisfied with this result. This looks good. Yep, this looks nice. Okay, I do have some slight edge over there. Let's double check if we have a soft edge. Yep, soft edge. Okay, I'll check on that later. So far it's pretty good. Yeah, this is this problematic part over here. So, and well, this side, of course, it looks good. But this side, yeah, you can see that edge over there. This is bad one. But except for that, yeah, you can see the edge over here. It's too vivid. Yep, too strong. Yeah, I'll have to redo this part. Yeah, the magazine is need to be redone, and I think the problem is in high poly because the high poly is not symmetrical. Okay, let's keep that in mind. So let's go on. The barrel. Yeah, the barrel looks good. Clean enough. The bullet. Good. Okay, I think I should go for a better quality. Let's go 64 samples and 16-bit channel, and this will increase the quality dramatically. So let's go another bake. We're done, and let's recheck. You can see pretty much less issues there. Same thing here. Yeah, you can see this part now looks cleaner, much cleaner. Right, I remember I had this thing on site. Right there. Yeah, this looks clean and nice. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So the bullets. Something weird going on in here. I'm not sure. I guess that's because of decimation from ZBrush. Not sure if so or not. Let's try and go 4K. Bake. If it's gonna change anything. Well, still some weird stuff, but again, no one's ever gonna look that close to the round, so it's good. Okay, the firing pin indicator. It's not the firing pin. Okay, as you can see, we have this issue right here. This is not a problem for now. This is okay. There's going to be a way to solve this thing. This is all natural for now. This looks good. Still good. This is good. The extractor. Yep, it looks fine. The plate. Yep, it's great. Oops. The mag release buttons. Yep, they're pretty good. Now for the important part. So this is the slide. And let's check it out. Whoops, we have a hard edge there. I don't think it should be there. Do we have the same on the other side? Yep, we do. That's probably a hard edge. And no, it's not. Okay, there can be, oh yeah, it's hard edge. Yeah, it is flipped on both sides, and since I have this on one side, it's going to be mirrored on the other. So let's do the soft edge right there. And clean history and re-export this guy as low. Yep. Now let's give the program some time to reload it. Hit bake once again. And come on. And we got it. Yeah. See this? That thing's gone. Looks good now. Okay, so let's hide all those guys. We don't need those for now. Okay, this version of Marmoset, it has some cool features in Baker, like multiple texture sets. If you have some of those, this thing is updated. The tools are good, but when you reload your mesh, it will automatically unhide everything. That's kind of annoying sometimes, because in previous versions this was disabled, and whether you update your mesh, it will still keep your hide and unhide icons. So okay, so let's continue our inspection. Just check on it. How does it look like? Yep. So far, so good. Just making sure everything's gonna look like good. Okay. Okay, so this looks okay. Oh no, we have this hard edges right there. Why is that? Though I don't have those here. So I guess, yep, that's a mistake. There should be soft edges. Hit soft edge, clean history, reload. And you can see something changed, but that's only partially because I did not update my normal map. Just click bake again. Now we're looking good. Yep, this looks good. Okay, so There's another way. You can just click L and you will hide all the low poly, but in order to unhide it, just go here. Okay, so I think we're looking good. Looking proper. So when you look like this close to this mesh, it seems like those edges are too soft. But when you look at the gun from this distance, it's actually does not, and it looks good, pretty readable. You can see the transitions between faces, between surfaces, and it looks good. So okay, so the slide is done, and the final part is frame. Let's check on that. Okay. Everything seems to look good. All right. This is okay, as well as this one. We'll never be seeing that part, so it's okay. And yeah, I think it's good. I think it looks good. I don't like this part over here. Right there. Yeah, that's because of the high poly. See that on the high poly? I should keep the I should crank up the amount of polygons on the high poly to avoid this area right there. This should be redone. This is not looking good. Right there. Okay. Okay, so for now I have two issues. The first one is magazine, which is not symmetrical. This should be redone. And not enough amount of polys on the frame part right there. So I'm going to speed up right now and fix those issues. The way to fix that thing is pretty straightforward, so there's nothing to comment on. You will be just seeing that. So let's go jump into that, and I'll see you after that. So, but everything rest is pretty not bad. So let's save the scene for now, and let's go into fixing those problems. Okay, so I had pretty good fight with these guys to make it look good. First of all, with the magazine. So this part was really tricky to get it done right, because, well, what I did, actually, I went to the Boolean scene and exported this initial mesh back into Maya, deleted the half of it and duplicated it and mirrored it, and this left side was actually a slightly different. So then I recomputed and applied booleans and remade the high poly mesh right there and send it. I had some issues right there, but it doesn't matter because it's not going to be like affecting low poly because it's too low. Anyways, the high poly now is symmetrical. The other tricky part was to get the low poly, and even when I did the high poly and I took my chance to bake just on the mesh that I had, and it failed because since that part, the initial high poly part was used for the low poly, so this part right here, it was not symmetrical and it had slightly like different offset, and I had to align those vertices perfectly with these. There's a tricky way to do that in Maya. For example, in 3ds Max, whenever you select a vertex, you can see the coordinates, the world coordinates of this vertex. In Maya, somehow you cannot do that, though you can create a locator, this thing, and you can see the coordinates of this locator. Whether it's on like at any place of the scene. So you just snap the locator at any point of your mesh and you will have perfect coordinates of that vertex. And so to do this point perfectly symmetrical, because I cannot delete the part and duplicate it because I have my UV, so I made this locator, placed it on this vertex, have these parameters here, and I copied this thing, the x coordinates, go into this vertex over here and just type into here, but without minus. So basically it has like perfectly symmetrical position. So this is the good way to match those vertices. However, it did not solve the problem because though all of these vertices were perfectly placed and were perfectly symmetrical, there was still a seam on bake, and I'm not sure, but I'm almost sure that that's because the difference between shadings, because as you can see right here we have really a big amount of triangles, while here there is no like any kind of triangles, it's just clean like polygons right there. And because we had triangles, the shading was a bit different here, and it was not matching this side over here. And this shell, which goes right below this edge, it like has the coordinate, it has the normal information based on its shading, and this part was different from this one, and so the transition between two UV shells was different. So what I had to do is just to create this like an extra edge right there, so that the transition between two UV shells was the same in terms of shading, and that solved the problem. So I had to add some extra geometry, just a bit, but now like the transition between those UV shells is the same, the shading is the same, the position of the vertices is the same. Now it looks good. And another important part, when you do any kind of movements of your vertices, when you are UV'd, when you have the UVs, make sure you have preserve UVs on, so that whether you move this vertex over here, it will be updated on the UV. So this is how the final low poly of the magazine looks like. And this is the bake. Now, like, this part is pretty much identical to this one. Looks good, no seams, even with this really high reflective material. It looks great. So, and another thing, I had another fight with this part over here, and I think I gave up because I could go with even more resolution for the high poly, but I think I'll leave it like this because, again, this is too reflective material. First of all, in the end, it's not going to be that reflective, and probably this is the closest you will get to seeing this gun. And at this point, it's really hard to spot those issues right there. So I think I'll leave it like this. So again, this is too reflective. It's going to be pretty, like, I guess somewhat like this, and you cannot tell any difference there, any kind of issues there. You cannot see those, even like from this distance. It looks good. So, right, and another thing, as you can see here, I've added a couple more edges right there and right there because I thought it was too blocky. Now the silhouette looks better right there with those extra edges. Alright, so now I think this looks really good. This looks exactly how I need it. The bake is clean. And now I think I can triangulate the mesh. I don't need this locator, let's delete it. So let's duplicate this guy again and call it low poly trace. And select all the guys here, mesh, triangulate. Okay, so why should you do triangulation before you bake? Well, the thing is that whether you're using any kind of game engine or like, well, yeah, pretty much any game engine. What the game engine does with your model when you export it, it does triangulation. So you can see your mesh, for example, in Marmoset with polygons, four-sided polygons, though it still triangulates. And there are different algorithms on how that triangulation is done. You have couple like ways to do that. For example, if you have this polygon, you can go with line over here, with the edge over here, or with like this side. And when you have your mesh baked without triangulation, there is still a room for an engine to interpret how this face is going to be triangulated. So the thing is, when you bake without triangulation, you have some information based on, like, for example, this face over here, and it's when you bake, it's triangulated, because every engine triangulates your model. However, if you drop your model, for example, into another engine, for example, you baked it in Marmoset, you drop it to another engine, and that engine can decide that this face is going to be triangulated into different direction. And in this place, there will be an issue. There will be an artifact on normal map. And that's the problem. So I tend to triangulate all my models before baking. I do my tests, like do test bakings, make sure everything looks good, and then I do triangulation. And when I bake the triangulated model, I am sure that it's going to look the same way in any kind of environment. So in any kind of engine, in any kind of like program, in Maya or in Marmoset, whatever, it's going to look good. So if you're going to use this model only for Marmoset, I guess you can go with quads. It's fine. The algorithms between Maya and Marmoset are quite the same, and that like triangulation gap will be filled pretty much the same between those two programs. However, I had the experience when you bake on quads, drop it into like game engine, and you see that those like tricky parts, tricky polygons, they are triangulated in different way, and so you have some artifacts over there. So this is why I do this. Now when I have all meshes triangulated, I just replace it, the low poly mesh, with this triangulated one, and let's go back into Marmoset, and it will actually replace the model, and you will see that we are going to have some artifacts because the triangulation might do different result as it was done after. So let's crank up the glossiness, and right there you can see, right there, and over here as well. That's because the difference in shading. So triangles is the best way to avoid any kind of that stuff going on. The flat surfaces are okay for this, but like this curved, soft shapes, they tend to have problems with that. So when you're sure that your mesh is ready and good, just triangulate it. Okay, so let's go back to Baker, and let's go with ambient occlusion as well, and albedo, which is basically a diffuse map. So let's go into options for ambient occlusion. Let's crank up the ray count, something like this. Right, do not ignore groups. Uncheck this. Okay. And now there's another trick. For example, if I check this one here. All right. So let me find a good example. No, it's not the best one. Hold on. Right, this one is good. 8. Right there. So you can see this kind of issue right here. So that's because we have a baking mesh. It has a cage. If you click here on low, you can see this yellowish thing. And because the normals are averaged among this face, the baked in detail can go a bit warped. And the best, you have actually the option in Marmoset with the painting. You can go into Paint Skew and just paint out this area. Right there, it's going to update. Give it a bit of time. So you basically paint the area where the normals are going to be projected straight. You can see that red marking there. It like straightens the normals of this area, while the green ones go average. All right, so this is one way, just to paint those areas out. But what I like to do is to bake two versions of normal maps. It's at this current handgun, I think you can go with painting, but when you have a bigger mesh, it's actually easier to bake two versions of your maps. So what I do, you have this checkbox right here, smooth gauge. So I tend to bake first pass with smooth gauge and the second pass without smooth gauge, and then I go into Photoshop and blend those two together with a mask. And that's the best way. You just group in Photoshop all of these guys into one folder, and without smooth gauge into other folder, and just apply a mask to a folder, and it's going to look good. So right now, if I click bake, it will take some time, so I'll go the fast mode right here. And first of all, I need to specify, I will delete this one, I don't need it, and I will call it XD smooth, which means the smooth gauge is on. Save. And okay, yeah, so the options are set. I'll click bake, and then I'll do the same thing with without smooth gauge and call it flat. So, and I'll see you there. Okay.